can't believe you spent like 2 years writing and experimenting before.
We went to studios, man, and spent thousands.
Yeah, and we
never
released
released the songs.
Yeah,
we just literally put them on a hard drive and was like, their shit.
We got really.
In the previous EP, everything was lowercase letters and all the names. Now we've gone for uppercase on everything. Is that a sort of a stamp of like, this is the new?
Well, next time round it's going to be a mixture.
Yeah.
Like sarcastic text online. Just...
It'll all be a Morse code next.
Yeah, is it?
So you figure it out.
Oh yeah, I love the 4 dots and 2 dashes song.
Yeah.
Have you heard?
We find ourselves in the Famous Cock Tavern in Islington in London a few hours before Tropic Gold are going to play one of Alex Holcomb's Mantra gigs with great new up-and-coming bands in the UK. Now, I first discovered this band fairly recently with their single Dead to All My Friends, which I thought was a fantastic song, and then I heard Holy Horror, which completely blew my mind. So I'm so excited to have the chance to chat to the band today about their songwriting and where they might be going from here. So welcome and thank you to Josh and Jacob from the band. Now,
Thanks
to begin...
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah.
I've since listened to some of your other songs in the past, and there are moments of gold in there as well. But in my opinion, your recent singles, production-wise and song sort of finesse, have gone up some kind of notch. Is that something that resonates with yourselves, and what might be the difference between how you've approached or what you've done with the more recent kind of recordings you put together for this?
I think there was quite a like intentional decision, maybe not necessarily from like a production standpoint, or maybe so, but there was a lot of things that I personally didn't want to do the same thing of, but it was very small things. Like I didn't want to, with the last EP, I was like using the same rhythm tone for all of the choruses and things like that. And that kind of spiraled into, well, I don't want to keep using these same synths, and I don't want to keep like looking on this for inspiration or this for inspiration that was leading me down the same path all the time when it just come to like writing a song. And I think in hand with that was a lot of the vocal stuff, like with Jake on this EP is very different. We stopped basically trying to always hit the top of his range in a big belting chorus.
Yeah.
So like,
So I do myself in as well.
Yeah.
Just constantly like.
And then like, it was really difficult to, not that he couldn't do it live, but doing all those songs back to back constantly was really straining. It was really tough. But it was also like a stylistic change as well, really, wasn't it? Like, there's like a big up in this kind of moodier, like sway, lower vocal kind of thing. And we kind of like, Dead to All My Friends was the first one where we did that kind of lower sway chorus line, wasn't it?
Yeah. I really liked that chorus as well. But it was uncomfortable, definitely. Like I felt like when we tried to do, I don't think you ever really hit the nail on the head the first time round. Sometimes you have to kind of push through with, hundreds of projects where like they just might not see the light of day. But like you just hit the nail on the head once and then you're like, that's it. That's the goal. How do we do this again?
Let's just do more of that.
Do more of this because we're like, we knew this worked. We like this. We like this sound. We thought about the things that we tried in other projects that we didn't like. And then you kind of collate everything together. And then from there, you start to create this snowball effect. And we were only saying on the way here, we were listening to the whole EP, because it's not long until it comes out. We were listening to the whole release from start to finish, which we hadn't even really done. And we were saying how, like, cohesively, like, we think everything works really well, but almost when you think back, we can't even think about writing it. Or we don't have the memory of writing it.
There was just like I think with the changes that like things like that of making those conscious decisions to be like, I don't really want to do this again, don't want to do this again. I think there's like a opening up that gives you as well, because as soon as we weren't just working with like the same 5 notes for top of Jake's range for choruses and things like that, then it was like, okay, well, this completely changes everything. We can do like moodier, like taking notes out of keys that you shouldn't, but wanted to. Yeah. So yeah, I think there was like a few things like that, really, like to what you actually asked, that we were just like, I just don't want to do that again. Like, yeah.
It seems the experience of a lot of creatives, especially when it comes to kind of album cycle or EP cycles, is once you create it, you go like, now I get it. Now I know how to do what we're going to do. Yeah. You do another one, it's like, no, now I really understand what we can do. And it's like, that's the kind of journey that everyone goes on. Is you sort of, as you were saying, you hone as you go and throw out some things you tried and didn't really work, but you still experiment in some new way in future.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's a really small thing, but I'm just curious. In the previous EP, everything was lowercase letters and all the names. Now we've gone for uppercase on everything. Is that a sort of a stamp of like, this is the new?
Well, next time round, it's going to be a mixture.
Yeah.
Like sarcastic text online. Just,
It'll all be a Morse code next.
Yeah, is it?
So you figure it out.
oh yeah, I love the 4 dots and 2 dashes song.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
Have you heard? Like, you can sing in Morse code as well.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes I'm very sort of like visual based, especially when it comes to things like that. And there was no thought. What was the first song? Happy.
Happy,
It just
yeah.
looked better in capitals.
Better.
So we just run with that, and then it just kept going really, and it was just like, yeah, that looks better in capitals as well.
We just didn't stop doing that.
I think it's more of like there's something a little bit impactful as well about it as well, rather than just, it just sort of stands out, and there's a lot of stuff. The EP's a lot heavier, so it kind of works. If there's some sort of answer in there like that, but yeah, happy looks better basically.
Yeah, like a cappy in all caps is almost like you're shouting at. If you're shouting at someone to be happy, it's kind of a great, like odd thing that grabs your attention. One of the things I'm really interested in as well is you have an aesthetic use of autotune, sometimes but not always. Like I think it is in the Euphoria song. There's quite a bit in there. When do you choose that as a stylistic thing? Because there's also quite a lot in the previous EP, I think. Whereas in songs like Holy Hell, there's a bit less. When do you go, I want a more of an electronic vocal style on this?
I think it's dependent on the music.
Yeah, I think it's really like, we'll probably vibe it as we're writing it. I don't know if we'll necessarily decide it prior to it. Although I actually say that because Euphoria is a bit different and even then in previous songs, like you said, in the previous EPs, it can only take one of us to go, I kind of want like a vocoder part on this or something like that, And we did have that in the previous EP, one of the tracks, and even the EP before that had vocoder parts as well. Like I did like a lot of vocoder because it's just a cool sound. And
but like Euphoria is very like electronic based in terms of also like the lyrics as well, like like computer this and all that kind of stuff with it, like referring a lot about like the state of the internet and things like that. It just made sense. Like it wouldn't sound right having like a really natural vocal over it, especially all of the notes are right next to each other. It's like really chromatic, so for it to just be like just locked in, just like makes it just feels right really. And we're a sucker for overproduction. I think there's
it was just like, do you use autotune? Just like fucking loads of it, mate.
Yeah,
it's all
love it.
out.
And
love it.
Like, because it's I see it more like a synth than anything. Like it's a stylistic way to do, like, to just make a vibe kind of thing. So but then like you got, like Holy Horror is
it's a much more
it's a lot more like raw and it's a lot more natural. And they're really like that's not something that like having like snappy auto-tune would really work for. So yeah, it's very like flowy, it's bending a lot between notes. So auto-tune just wouldn't work for that. But yeah, a lot of robot stuff we like.
Nice. But then if it's important in the songs, I would presume then you'd want to recreate some of that live. So are
which
you?
We do.
We do. Yeah. Our live setup's pretty. It's pretty cool, really.
It's very streamlined, but
it's streamlined, pretty advanced, really. For like where we are, really, in terms of
just some like MIDI stuff, like switching in Ableton for like.
Cool.
And so we'll have different like settings for what the song is really. So like a perfect example between those two is like there is just like an auto tune locked on for Euphoria because it's such a robotic song, and it just wouldn't. I feel like if somebody liked that song and then they saw it live and it was like really raw and natural and sounded like a band practicing in a room, you'd be like, well, that's not very good live. I prefer the record. Whereas, I don't think there's anything to hide behind when it comes to recreate. Like, sure, like people don't want to see a karaoke version of the song and it's just like completely just like the record. But at the same time, those kind of parts make the song, where it is like robotic and things like that. So fuck it, we'll put that in.
Yeah, definitely. I think people don't realise how hard autotune is as well. It's not like a... You don't,
it doesn't make you think good.
You don't just like... I don't just like talk the words. I'm just talking to the microphone and then it's just recreating it how I want it to sound. So you've got to be close to the note. To lock the note. So I still have to really sing like pretty well to be able to get it across. So
it's definitely more of an effect rather than a desired outcome of performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah, I was chatting to Marcus Vick, who's a singer for a band called In Band Animate. He's making that point that if you're using live autotune and if you're not close enough to that note, it will ping you to a different
To
note.
the wrong note.
And that will be like, oh,
and
God.
that sounds worse
Way
because then
worse.
you're really very like consistent on the wrong.
Yeah, especially with a song like Euphoria, where it's just the. If you get that note wrong the first time and you're jumping around, like it's noticeable.
You're going to know that. Everyone else is also going to know that. So.
Yeah. You need your in-ears to really tell you what note you're hitting.
Yeah,
otherwise.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh. What projects have you been in before Tropic Gold that might have informed what you've done with this? Or is this your first kind of foray into the music creation world?
This is the first serious one.
First properly serious.
We were both in bands when we were 18. That's how we met.
In London.
We
played shows in Camden. We met at a show at the Barfly, which isn't the Barfly anymore. I think it's the Assembly now.
Yeah.
And we played a show there, and I mean, we really would have been like quite young then.
18, 19.
Yeah, 18, 19 when we were playing that. And we were both we were in our local bands, and our local bands often got chances to play shows in London and stuff. And the Barfly was one of those shows that we got to play quite a lot. And I think Josh's band did too, and our paths just crossed, and we didn't even really keep in contact.
No, I didn't keep in contact or anything. And then it was only after the band that I was in just like finished, after I think maybe a year after that, so maybe like 2012 or something like that. And then I wasn't in a band for like 5 years after that, just through, I didn't really know anybody else who was in bands and things like that. But I was just writing so much stuff at home, and I was going through all the waves of like, I'd write metal over like pop a cappella. Like one of the first things I showed you was like
Nicki Minaj.
It was Nicki Minaj Anaconda. But
Wow.
I just took the vocals from it, like ripped it off of YouTube, and then just like wrote metal. But I wasn't doing anything. Like I would just finish it and be like, cool. Like that's just for me. I wouldn't put it anywhere. I wasn't uploading to like YouTube.
Really? Wow.
No, I was just doing it like for me, and just like I wanted to learn how to record stuff and write stuff. And that was kind of like my way of learning how to do that. But I was also writing like loads of like folk, indie, like acoustic stuff. And then I really got into electronic stuff, like bands like Daughter, where it's like ambient, loads of electronic drums, and then like some real drums. And I think that kind of started seeping its way in when we then got reconnected in 2017.
17, yeah.
And for a mutual friend, when the band that Jake was in was looking for another guitarist. And I was like, oh, I could be interested in that. I've not been in the band for a while. And after we started writing together, it was like, this is very different to what it was before.
It changed quite quickly, didn't it? Really?
That band's done now. And then we moved on. And then we wrote for like 2 years without even a band.
2 years, we didn't have a name.
Yeah.
We didn't have song names. They were just numbers.
We just went through like a journey of like, I think we wrote about...
Oh man, it went for a serious journey. We were writing some bits.
Yeah, there was a lot. It was really heavy.
Yeah, we didn't know what we wanted to be really.
And then it went really light. And then we wrote like a couple of like 80s songs.
Yeah.
Like really like 4 to the floor, 80s synths.
Great.
So I think that journey sort of landed us, like the pendulum was swinging backwards and forwards, and it landed us in a point of being like, cool, so we do still like heavy stuff, but we really like house and like electronic stuff and like Fleetwood Mac. So we can like find a way to do this. And then, so nothing serious beforehand, but it's kind of, it did lend itself in to being what it is now.
Always had our foot on the ground with it, really, didn't we? We were always feeling the pulse, I think, for like whatever the industry was doing and whatever the local scene was kind of pumping out. Because from where we
just
from
wanted
as
to do
well, like we wanted to do everything that everyone wasn't doing, and there was not really anyone coming out of our ends, from like where we're at.
The scene kind of died.
The scene is just like non-existent. So, when we kind of started out, we felt like, wow, we didn't even have anything to prove. Like, we were just like, whatever. There was no competition. There was no local competition. It was just, let's just record some singles and shoot some of our own music videos and just release them and see what happens. And the ball kind of rolled and the snowball effect happened, and here we are.
That's incredibly organic. I can't believe you spent like 2 years writing and experimenting before.
We went to studios, man, and spent thousands.
And we
never
released
the songs.
Yeah,
we just literally put them on a hard drive and just like their shit.
We got really good really quickly at being really critical. of ourselves, regardless of the cost.
Sometimes too hard, but often not too hard.
Yeah,
Often
and
it was
Take
necessary.
one moment to move this.
Oh yeah, sorry,
It's gonna
man.
just get a lot of hit.
It's probably me.
We're good.
yeah, So, and this is by no means saying that like the singles we released first are like fucking gold dust, because they're not. They're trash. But the journey from getting to the point where we released the first single was very much just like, we pay for this. We literally went to Wales into a studio, recorded 2 songs, and went, nope, like fuck that. Like had a mix and then just didn't do anything with them.
One of them was like stayed as a mono mix. We didn't even bother going through with the mix. We were just like, don't worry.
Yeah, that was the second time.
The second time we went
back to that studio was when we recorded Living in Colour, Runaway, Human, and another song, and that other song was
never saw.
Yeah, it just never saw light day, because we were just like whatever. So we were very like dismissive of being like, doesn't matter.
We got over it really quickly, didn't we? We sort of started to have like this mentality of, when we write something, if it doesn't work, you just say fuck it and carry on. And beforehand, we would beat ourselves up about it when something didn't work.
Yeah.
The song didn't work because you were like, oh, we put so much into it, and like I really like this bit, and you know, I want this, and it was like, all right, well, grab what you like out of it, and then just fuck the rest off, and then just carry on.
There's one of the tracks on the new EP is like a butchering drum and bass remix of a single that was going to be on the EP. So it's very much like, we always look at the positive of like, what do we like in this? Dead to All My Friends, no, not Dead to All My Friends, Don't Take This to Heart was a completely different song. Yeah. And the only thing we kept from it was the Don't Take This to Heart, which just turned into a completely different song as well. So we'll get, and we've kept every single project. We can open every single project that we've ever opened.
Yeah, there's a lot of like,
so we
interesting movements between.
Yeah, we can like go back to whatever, but yeah, we can be quite brutal on ourselves with that. But yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it sounds healthy. Because otherwise, if you wrap up your worth in the last thing you wrote, then you can be in a roller coaster of like, no, I'm terrible, or I can fix this. Like actually, it's not like it's your fault. It's just some ideas don't necessarily work with the others in the song. And
I almost feel, not that I almost feel, I definitely feel like as well, is you have to accept that you could, if you're like, right, I'm going to write an EP, you're going to write X amount of projects before you even get one song that you like. And we always find that with us, that happens. The one song happens, and then the rest just goes, and it just like works
as well.
So like, there was, what was the last single? I think Don't Take This to Heart was the last single that was written from What Wonderful Experience, and that was Project 161. They're all chronologically like ordered since day one, and then Happy was so there was 17 projects, and then Happy was 177.
So that's like 17 binned projects.
Yeah, it was just like, I'm going to start trying to find a vibe, whatever.
The end of What Wonderful Experience's writing period and the start of the releasing of, you know, this era now. Like, that's like a fucking large album.
Yeah.
You know,
some
bad
people,
one. Yeah, a bad one. It was
and really unfinished as well.
some people would release that anyway.
I'm sure. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh. And then when you struck upon Happy, did you kind of think, oh, there's something here that we can explore?
Happy was the result of me down tuning my guitar and just being like, I'm bored of playing in the tuning that I'm in. And that was one of the things that we were talking about earlier with like, don't want to do this again, don't want to do this again. And I wanted to just free up things for myself. Like, I'm not the flashiest guitar player in the world. I'm more of like a impact and rhythm kind of writer. And I'm not here like it's just not me. And I just wanted to find different ways of doing that. And I would always, because I love synths so much, I was always finding that I was putting lower synths under my guitars to beef them out. So I was just like, I'm just going to tune this down. So now it's like, you know, Happy's in like double drop D. But it doesn't sound like it kind of thing. So it's just like producing it in a way that like, is it still accessible to a lot of people rather than just hearing that first note of like dawn and people just being like, this is too much for me. Yeah. So yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was like guitar tuning and just being able to shift patches between songs and just being like, yeah, cool, this is sick. Like I love how low this is. And then that alone was just enough inspiration to just be like, yeah, this is cool.
What's the combination of influences on, I guess, both of you in a sort of Venn diagram where you meet in the middle, from either when you were starting 2017 to also who are you currently listening to? Like, actually, they're great, and we're learning some things from them.
Man, I scroll my recent music list on my Apple Music.
It's going to be so backwards.
I've got My Little Pony in my like top. Because I have 2 young daughters. I'm like, this looks, but they're also bangers, actually.
Yeah.
My top listened to on Spotify is sleep music. And then
What is it?
White noise.
43 hertz or something?
Yeah, 100. It's like 543 hertz.
Yeah.
Like. I don't listen to loads of music. I'm really bad at finding things, not from a quality perspective, but from a production perspective, that I find that I can really like get myself into. I love Thornhill at the moment. I can't stop listening to Thornhill. Like, I can't wait for their album. So I'm really on them. But I mean, God, 2017. I know exactly what we were listening to.
I know exactly what we listened to.
Fit for a King.
Fit for a King, yeah.
Like, was like one of the biggest.
I can't remember the name of that.
I remember when you showed me Hooked.
Yeah, whatever that album's from.
That was the first time that I came up to see you guys.
Ridiculous album.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was from, but
I know the front cover. I can't remember what it's called.
But then, like, we would leave for a show, and then we'll put like ABBA Gold on. You know?
Yeah,
So it's like
the juxtaposition of what we listen to. We get the same question every time whenever we play a festival. It's always, so what would be your festival lineup then? What was your festival lineup? And we'd always just say
it's all ABBA is always in.
ABBA and Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, ABBA, Fleetwood Mac, and like just for like the sake of like legacy, like
something
like between the two of them.
Everybody just wants all these really interesting answers, and it's like, honestly, I get in my car and I just put Rumours on every day. So, I don't know.
But at the same time, like, you know, we've been to like we love Disclosure's first album.
Yeah, Disclosure
Settle.
So good. Settle.
Yeah.
So
like we love like electronic music.
We saw
like
them last year, didn't we? Or the year before.
Yeah. And it could just be things like, you know, it could be like a Disclosure song or like any house song or electronic song where it's like, I love this kick. Like, why do I love the kick in that? And so inspiration, I think, doesn't necessarily like come directly from the bands that we're listening to, like, but more so parts of what's happening, like why we like them. We get a bit nerdy for breaking down why we like certain things.
I've been listening to tons of Morgan Wallen, and it's like,
what is that?
It's country music. It's like country pop music. Like, this guy did like that track with Post Malone. You know, like, he's like a massive country artist. Not remotely anything to do with like what we would do or in the similar sound. But his melodies are mad. Melodies are crazy. Chord signatures are crazy. You're like, well, what do I like about this? Why do I keep listening to this?
Yeah.
What is this? There's something in there that's a little bit like MSG, and I want a bit, and I want a bit more of it.
Why can't I quit this?
Why can't I quit this? Once you pop, you just can't stop. You know, like. So finding those things in whatever you're listening to, I don't think it matters at all that it's got nothing to do with like rock music.
The variety for me was a lot more like, now I tend to just go for like a playlist. So, you know, like a Spotify playlist of, if I'm driving somewhere, I'll put like, I don't know, like Misfits on or something like that, like the 2.0 playlist. So, because I think that's great. And it's like very my kind of, there's like electronic in there, there's like metal, there's like a bit of like new metal in there. So even if I like went through it, I couldn't even tell you which ones I liked because I'm so like ignorant to who's on, unless I really am like, I want to listen to this more. But yeah, I mean, like, we don't really listen to music together ever, do we?
Nah, unless we come to like a session together and we're like, I've got to show you this song.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
which has happened before, definitely. And then that might spur something. Like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I like that sound. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, this sounds absolutely ideal for creating something that is a little bit different, because you can, if you have such a wide array of ideas that inspire you, then you can put your own flavor on whatever that is.
Yeah.
And create some unique things.
We have a folder on Instagram, not folder, like DMs.
Yeah.
Before we've had this for what, 5 years? Yeah. So this was before you could like save posts on Instagram. So it would be a lot easier to do that now. But we just have like a DM chat between me, Jake, Amy, and the Tropic Gold page. And it's just called Content Drop, and there's no talking or anything, and it would just be like things we see on Instagram.
A little Pinterest.
It could be,
it's literally like using Instagram as a Pinterest board.
Yeah, but it could be a sponsored ad for like a synth, and that goes in there. It could be visuals for a music video. It could be a photo shoot.
It could be an advert for like Nike
It could be an advert.
shoes.
Yeah, it could be like Nike shoes or like a car.
There's something in that you're like,
I like the grading on this video.
The grading of the video. I love
the music on this. Royalty-free music. I like the tempo of this. I think Euphoria.
Text on this, like
like font. All sorts of stuff. I think Euphoria. Like I heard. Just the tempo of that, like that bounce, like, just on an advert, And I think I might have sent that into the group somewhere. And that just come from like open a project.
And it will just be like, we won't talk, but sometimes if you like something, we might write a comment, but it will be like so basic. It'll be like, find BPM.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
what is BPM? Like
grading.
Yeah,
like,
great.
colour
Yeah,
grading.
yeah. Font at the top of the page of this poster. I really like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we get more inspiration from that than we do sort of like anything else, really.
That's so cool.
But I like it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep it pretty insular, really, I think. Keep it all ever connected between us.
Nice.
And I love that.
Happy's got a few synths in there that was a bit like interstellar, like they're very like you'd never be able to pick it out, but I know they're in there. So like, there's a lot of like just some of the note progressions in like some of it was very like interstellar kind of like bass. I was just listening to that soundtrack like loads at the time. I don't even know why. I think I was probably falling asleep to it or something.
Yeah. You woke up. Don't know why, man. Why do you want to put the synth in a song?
Yeah.
We'll talk about the MSG you're trying to get more of. That song, I hinted this in the intro. Holy horror.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of. I must have listened to that song 60 times at this stage.
No way.
It's so fucking good.
Oh,
and it's very
so
loopable on its own because it has a vibe you can just sit in for ages.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not wildly dissimilar from, I think they might have released it around the same time, Silver Swarm by Thornhill. It's also kind of similar vibe. I'm like, you guys are sort of kindred spirits. And I'm like, that song has a glorious moment, which is when it went from like brilliant to fucking delicious, was after the chorus. That groove moment with the little pinched harmonics is just like absolute ear candy for me. I don't think, have you done pinched harmonics in other songs before? That was your, because
No.
And what inspired that moment? How, like when, because it's such a glorious filthy groove. Like how do you settle on that and go like, it's good enough, don't add any more to this, this is perfect?
You know what? A lot of those types of sections, especially on the EP, we were just talking about this in the van, start off as jokes because it wasn't that heavy before. And we'd always loved heavy music. We'd always pop things in and be like, oh, can you imagine if we did this? And then a lot of the time, for years, we'd be like, all right, let's find something else to do there. We can't do that. It's too heavy.
Let's be serious, we can't do that.
So like coming out of the just straight into that, and I put the pinch harmonics in there just as a joke, and we were like, I'm fucking keeping that in. Like that's
You know, like the
yes,
right. That was 100%.
That was a joke.
I was just sat there, like Josh was like noodling around.
We always
both got
mics
headphones and
plugged in
mics. We
while
both
we're
got
writing.
one, so we can both kind of like noodle around at the same time while we're listening to the track. And I was, I was just like, I don't know, got like an ADHD spike or something. And I was like, I need to scream into a mic. And Josh was like,
and I was like, that's sick. I was like, let's do another one of them. Distorted the shit out of it, and it just like. It's just become
and that's
a
it.
thing.
It became like
fire.
That was the thing. It was like bless are out the window.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah,
overdone.
They're in now.
Unless you're Sam Carter, like Blurs are done.
Yeah.
Like,
he's the king of that. And now I want to be the crowned queen of yak.
Yaks are on the up.
I love that it's yak, not just yak.
So like a lot of that kind of stuff like does just start out as like a joke. Dead to All My Friends is another good example where it's just the bridge, just finish me, and it is just the
but it's just fucking great groove.
Yeah, it's just like, we should do like a two-step thing here, and I'll just write it in, punch in all the drums, and then be like, yeah, that could work, sit on it, and then go back to it and be like, actually, that does work. So I think what we were considering jokes was actually just kind of what I think we've turned out to just be like, all right,
it's your brain going, this might be more delightful.
Yeah.
Throw that in.
And as well, we had like a really, we've done it right from the start where we will always, with a project, more often than not, usually it doesn't work out that we just put in the thing that works first time. Normally it's, we put fucking loads in and we always go, we like it like this because we can pull it back. What can we pull out of these sections? What can we pull out to make it either more...
It's like reverse.
It's like reverse. It's like reverse production, isn't it? It's like, things are more accessible when they're not so confusing. So what can you pull out to make it more like a pop song? Because pop songs are really fucking easy to listen to.
That bit in Holy Horror had loads of shit going on. Like, it had like all these like arpeggiator synths like going on, and so like if I'm like starting like the bare bones of a chorus, there'll be like, I don't know, say you're doing like rhythms and then like leads, synth leads, some sort of synth hook, vocals and all of that. That most of the time will end up being the third chorus as it is, and then I'll pull something out for the second chorus, pull something out for the first chorus. So it almost goes backwards a lot of the time, really. And yeah, so sections like that will just be like, oh yeah, this will just be funny. I'll just go with, like, it's the same with lyrics as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lyrics, like, we will just loop a section and I will write shit, like anything that comes to mind. But there'll be one word that just goes like, I think even like, I fucking love that might have even been like one of those situations.
One of those like drop-in moments where you're like,
it's just like, yeah, that's cool.
That's fine.
Like, and then the rest of it just gets binned, and then you just carry on from that. And then the rest of that will get binned. And at some point you'll find like the flow of it. So yeah, we write, a lot of it's like quite jokey.
Yeah.
Well, it starts off as jokey, and then that brought us to the realization that we actually quite liked doing those bits that we were considering too much.
Yeah, we thought they were jokes, but everyone else was just like, this is fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like,
That's the song.
Yeah, that's it.
Don't throw that out.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing for me is in all the choruses so far, the new singles, there is a subtle, and not everyone might hear this, scream vocal underneath.
Yo. That's like,
That's a lovely detail that I think gives it a bit of depth and fire. Like, people might not necessarily hear that, know that it's there, but there's that little subtle hint. Like, what's the inspiration behind doing that? What has that brought to the songs?
It's perfectly, because I think from a production point of view, our voices blend really well, because he hits this range that I can't hit. Like a brutal high level scream that I like literally just can't get. But then when you layer it over with a singing part as well,
especially a
softer singing part, like it just works really well. So when you bake it in there.
That's your voice then, not just.
I'm not screaming in the most of the higher part screams behind choruses.
If there's parts where there's a backing vocal that might clash, this is just so nerdy, but it's more so like I will see I know where Jake's voice sits on a frequency in a spectrum, and we'll know like whether or not he does a backing vocal, and it's just not. If it was Jake doing that over his own voice, it probably wouldn't have been as noticeable. And what we were saying earlier about, like dropping his range down for these like moodier, kind of like swingier, that obviously comes with less impact of when it drops. So it was like, oh, it's just scream behind this. Like that'll do. And some of it is also like not scream, it is like a really high pushed, really like, Sam Carter-esque, like
half and half,
like half and half, like pitched scream. There's some that are really, really high. Holy Horror third chorus is one of them.
Is so high.
Where that was bad. I really blew my voice out.
Where they're just like, get the take,
like,
man. This sounds so good.
I was like, I'm not a natural like singer, but just through like recording together over time, I found a kind of a small pocket of things I can do.
That's great.
And it just works really well when he's doing. We basically do it so that if he's doing one thing, I do the opposite, because there's just different frequencies in both our voice, and it just sounds bigger. So yeah,
and even in the talking, like there's parts where you do sing talk, like there's talking-y parts, like it's not always just the higher scream parts, and that's because if I'm doing that, again, the same reason, if I'm singing, but then I'm also doing like some lower talked part.
Like the wake,
I
can't remember the order of it now.
Wake, i.e.
In Euphoria. Go on, carry on.
No.
What is it? In Euphoria, like before the chorus, like, it's like, that. Some of that is me and some of it's you.
Exactly.
Just depends on what happens before it, really.
Yeah.
It's probably so pointless, but...
these are the details that I love. Because when I listen to music, I hear all of the instrumentation and production things. So when I know something, like, oh, that's delightful.
Yeah.
And I enjoy kind of figuring out, why do I like something? It's like, well, why is it interesting? Well, because I think it adds a bit of like energy and angst to what is otherwise a very subdued, chilled out chorus vocal delivery. Like, that's interesting.
Sure.
Maybe that's why it works, because there's two different kind of aspects to it.
Yeah.
And then presumably once you've got that tracked, when you manage to hit that thing high up, you can then put that through the track for your live shows, I'd imagine, rather than try to do that high stuff live yourself.
It really depends on, honestly, what goes on tracks and what I do live just depends on what I'm playing, because I'm not that kind of person who can play anything and sing anything at the same time. So some stuff, if I'm trying to think of an example. Dead to All My Friends, third chorus. So there's like, because I'm dead to all my friends. All of the chords are just straight, so that's fine. Like I'm absolutely fine. I'm not going to blow my brains out trying to do that like just absolutely. Because I also need to I'm conscious of I need to perform and not stand there really thinking so hard.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is fine. So it really just depends where it is on the song. But yeah, I'm not we're definitely not people who are like, oh, don't put too much on tracks. Like, well, no, you come to see the song.
Yeah, not
like, and we don't have, if we've done 8 layers of vocals on a chorus and there's not even 8 people up here to sing that, do you want us to just do a half-assed version of it?
Yeah.
Because you don't, because some people don't like tracks.
Yeah,
like,
we're not doing that.
Like,
We've had that before. It's like tracks, they're just not real. Tracks isn't real. It's like, you're not the fucking arbiter on what's real.
It's entirely up to you as the artist to do whatever the fuck you want.
Like
really?
You've got 3 people stood in front of you playing this fucking song.
Yeah.
Like, in time, well tuned.
Yeah.
Like you're worried about the sound that's coming out of the PA that was also created by that band at a different point in time.
But it's not people live who will ever say things like that. It's comments. It's the internet. Like,
it's not ticket buyers that will be like, well, and even them is like, well, I wouldn't see them live. It's like, well, then don't. It doesn't matter. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah,
There's plenty of music to go around.
Fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Do you have ideas in your head? Sir, I'm thinking you must, if you're thinking like this gradient, I really like, about what your future live shows might look like. Because when I'm hearing your sounds, I can imagine something in the epic spectrum that the likes of Bring Me the Horizon now do. Their shows are fucking wild.
We literally spoke about this.
We were talking about this on the way here.
We've got a cool show coming up later in the year that we thought we might be able to do something to.
For in summer?
In August.
Oh right, yeah. And then obviously we've got our first headline show in May, in London. So we've got some like extra crew that we've never had on for a show before, and that's really just limited down to the shows that we've played. Really, you know, I mean, it was only last year that we put a banner up when we played 2,000 Trees.
Yeah, literally.
So, but we are suckers for like visual stuff. Sure. And yeah, we played a show last week in Bristol actually, and the in-house lighting engineer was amazing, and it just even felt good on stage. Even at the end of he didn't know who we were. He wasn't working for us. But end of every song, blackout, and we were like, "Oh, this feels really good."
Yeah.
Like, and it was just like, you know, it was a small venue, like supporting like a band, and so yeah, we're suckers for like, you know, MIDI controlling things and DMX controlling things, and as soon as we've got the ability to put that on a stage, like, it will be there. We'll care more about that.
Well, we're always upgrading our live rig. We're always thinking about ways that we can improve visuals, we can improve sound, we can improve.
From an audience
just how easy it is for us to set the fucking thing up.
Yeah.
Like, because we just want everything to be as streamlined as possible, but the result to be as good as possible.
Right.
You know, we don't just turn up and just plug a mic in and a guitar. Like it's not like that. It is more.
But we want it to be easy for the people that we're working with, because we were not taking loads of crew around, like, you know, so when we turn up at a venue and it's like house engineer, we can't turn up with like lights and like stuff like that. But we've got, all of that stuff we talk about a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the first showcase of that will be the headline show.
Yeah.
Which I'm really excited for.
Yeah.
Just talking about that before we walked in the door.
Nice. Yeah. So it sounds like you're looking for a healthy balance between making it easy to do, but also reduce the number of things that could go wrong. In theory. Like, because, you know, mics or whatever it is, or cab miking up situation.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things in the wrong room will just lead to feedback and all sorts of problems.
Yeah, right.
Very cool. What, in terms of upgrading your gear and the rest, all of that costs money, and being in a band until you're massive is financially difficult. How do you balance all of those things? Like, how much should we reinvest, and also kind of make sure that we can, you know, afford a living?
We've never taken a penny.
No, we've
never taken a single penny. Actually, that's a lie. Last year we came to London, didn't we, for a show, and we went to Brick Lane Vintage Place, and we both saw a bit of clothing that we liked, and we were like, let's buy that for ourselves.
Bought a shirt,
and that was like 50 quid each.
That's nice.
That is the most we've ever taken out for ourselves. Every penny.
Everything else just goes back in.
Yeah.
Gets recycled as best we can.
Like you said, like, you know, all of the small amount of money that bands make at this level is next to nothing, and you barely break even, if that.
Yeah.
You know, we live an hour and a half away from where we're playing the show today, and we're not breaking even. So so, you know, but, you know, it just comes part and parcel of it. Like, it's not it will break a lot of people, and I totally get why. Like,
you have to really want to do this thing.
Yeah, you really do. But, you know, like, in terms of gear and stuff, it's kind of that thing when you're a kid. Like, when I had my first guitar and my first amp, it was, okay, cool, I got this for my birthday. And then before my next birthday, I would like sell those and put that towards a better guitar and a better amp. And I did that so much when I was a kid. Same with cameras now. Like, I bought like a camera a few years ago. I sold that, put a couple hundred quid towards it, got another camera. And I think the rig has just kind of slowly got like that, hasn't it?
Yeah, like every now and then we'll just do an upgrade to one part of it and sell something that becomes obsolete. And so realistically, we've ended up with quite a lot of gear that we don't use as much anymore. But still, you know, a lot of like live sound, pro sound sort of stuff holds its value. If you can look after it, it holds its value anyway. So you can
we try and smart recycle, like reinvest as much as possible, really. But yeah, and it totally depends what kind of the gear is. Like, I was lucky enough for Tim at Jackson to send me over a Jackson, and that was like my first guitar when I was like 17. So that was like a really big deal for me. And obviously guitars aren't cheap, especially at that kind of quality. Yeah. So like that was like a really cool moment of like, oh yeah, this is a really nice piece of kit. And then I broke it, but I fixed it now. So yeah, we try not to spend too much money on gear, especially for things that don't impact the audience directly, because that's what comes first. But you know, there are some things where it's just like, this is really giving us a bit of grief when it comes to setting up in 30 minutes of sound check. And we need to change this. 15-minute changeover, Just going from 10 XLRs to 2 Cat 5 cables was like the best thing we ever did.
That was a really, really...
a lot of the upgrades are probably quite boring and like, you know, things like that. But we try.
What's been the most fulfilling moment thus far, though, on the positive side of things, that you've in the world of Tropic Gold since you started? You went like, that was fucking amazing. That's why we do this thing together.
Oh, that's so difficult. I can think of a few for different reasons, though.
Yeah, a few for different reasons.
Last week, somebody got our logo tattooed on them, and
wow,
like,
right
big,
across
big as well, like the whole thing. Like,
absolutely
that's
massive.
an investment. That's an investment in the band. This band's going somewhere because it's
she
not me redesigning the logo at the same time.
I literally messaged back to them, changing the logo.
Oh, a vintage logo. What do you mean?
2000 Trees.
I was going to say
was one on my list
personally.
Because like that was such a crazy show at a magnitude that we'd never played before, and I'd never played before. And there was like an actual reception to us, as opposed to it being like, I felt as if we were on at fucking 20 to 2 in the afternoon. Like I really just thought, you know, but it was a big stage.
It was a big stage.
Like a 5,000 people tent, and
that was a really cool moment for us.
You know, I really thought we were just going to go out and it was just going to be like kind of empty, but we were like, don't worry about it. Like, you know, we've done it. We can walk away and say we played it, and like whatever. It's a rolling ball thing. But you know, the tent was like, it was more or less empty before. 10, 15 minutes before. And then because you couldn't see it, because we were like down low and then we had to walk up the gantry to get to the stage, like just sort of took a little peek around the corner, and it was really fun. And I was like, it's another day. I
was like,
your heart just falls out of you.
God, it's like, I was like, there's like 3,000 people out there. But I think as well, like when we got the Rock Sound print, the actual magazine print, like the full spread. That was really cool. That was really cool.
Same with Kerrang, we've got the full.
And Kerrang,
Red Kerrang.
That was very much like a 14-year-old would have loved this.
A real thing.
Still do. But like, you know, it's really difficult. I think like to pinpoint, because there's so many different reasons. Because like there's the personal goals, like not even goals, but personal things that have happened like that. But then, you know, we don't really talk about or acknowledge stats or anything. And whilst
try not to.
Whilst like, you know, things like X amount of streams or like 100K monthly listeners is like a drop in the ocean compared to most things. And, you know, just seeing that that's a lot of people who just like what we're writing is something that you really have to remind yourself amongst the stress and the finances of it, and get here at this time, like, you know, or we're running late, you know, amongst all of that, when you really take a step back, which we probably don't do enough, it's really like, wow, that's a lot of people listening. And to me, that will always just be, you know, I don't care whether there's 1,000 people in a room or one person in a room. If that one person is just like, I love everything you're doing, then that just like means the world to me.
It's enough, really, isn't it? You get so many heartwarming stories from people who want to come and talk to you after the show, you know, merch desk and stuff, like some real heart-wrenching stories as well, you know, that you really don't, they're not really blindside you as well, because I think people are just...
I think because we talk about a lot of that stuff in songs.
And when you're up there as well and performing, I often don't think that you are almost opening yourself up to the people that are in front of you, and everyone just is on board with what you're doing and what you're saying enough that when you come off stage, they go, I want to be a part of your world. So then when they come to talk to you, they just want to offload. And it's like, oh, I wasn't really expecting this, but like, that is amazing that you feel like you can talk to me about all that stuff.
I saw I don't know if you saw this. Somebody tagged us in a story a couple of days ago. I think it might have been last week or something, but we haven't spoke about this. And it was quite a big deal for me. I went through like a lot of learning about like ADHD and things like that, and things that I just never would have even thought of. And somebody tagged us in a story about, I think it might have been Happy, I can't remember, but they were like, oh, this song is talking about like ADHD and I can feel that. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, how? I don't think our lyrics are very like clear, and we leave it a lot open to like interpretation. And when I saw that, I was like, damn, like I felt like I knew what they felt like. And for me to feel like that as the person who wrote the song, and that's just about a comment, that I love that shit. Like, that's so sick. Like, whether, I don't care, like I said earlier, I don't care if it's one comment or like 1,000 comments, like that one will still be, that'll make my day. Yeah. So yeah, there's always those daily like comments that will be like, lift you up.
It's a real connection.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, especially when you're talking about like, you know, what your brain's doing and stuff like that. Yeah. Everyone gets it.
It is a genuine connection. It's not like a falsified thing. We're not doing it because we're like, oh, well, let's just talk about that.
Yeah.
It's like, you talk about it because you feel like you can talk about it. And then when people are receptive to it, it's quite nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, in the light of, you spent 2 years writing songs that no one would ever hear. Like that, the fact that now you're at a place where people are connecting so viscerally to the music you're putting out there, it must be just like, that's kind of an exceptional thing. Now, and you're leading into this kind of like sexy metal sound you have with the Holy Horror and other bits and pieces. Are you in any way mentally prepared for where that might go? Because you have the likes of Noah Sebastian and Bad Omens. People have just gone mad for that, dude.
Yeah, but they sell so much merch.
Yeah.
I can pay for therapy.
Yeah.
And Jake's waiting for something to happen so that he can go off of socials. So
yeah.
Like, so he can be like, no, I can't take this anymore. So yeah, for his sake, I'd love that.
I mean, if it was to ever get to that point, if that's what you mean, like that.
Yeah.
But also because like you can't choose your fans, so you have no idea like who might end up, you know, really connecting with a particularly interesting song, and then they become obsessive in some way. Are you anyway thinking about that? Or just like that's something you can't control?
Do you mean like hyper obsession?
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
I mean,
I don't know really. I mean,
I definitely haven't thought about that.
If it did, I mean, how
you can't even deal with that anyway. So, like,
it's almost like an odd thing to consider that. I mean, I struggle to understand that somebody wants to listen to the music in the first place. Yeah. But that's a me problem. Like,
you got a tattoo of our logo?
Yeah. I'm just like, why have you done that?
Yeah.
Like,
go laser it.
So the idea of like, you know, that cult-based fandom is, you know, it's obviously incredible for a band, and the band's success and the connection to the fans is, you know, it's only heightened by that. You know, some of it goes far, it's a bit too far, you know, certain things.
We'll have to get
leak.
security, man.
Yeah.
We'll get daily security.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I've never really thought
I've never thought about it to that extent. I guess I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't like to get to a point where enough people were like listening to the music that they become like hyper fans.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to know where I live.
I think that's a fair thing to hope for.
You get a DM on Instagram just like, your Amazon parcel's been delivered, by the way.
Yeah. Like, and I'm just like,
Yeah, no thanks. Well, so you've got an EP coming out soon. We've heard just the singles off of that thus far. What could you say that teases about that, and what you might be hoping for up and coming for this? Do you have a bucket list of things, festivals you're hoping to play, things you're hoping to do in future with this group?
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, we've got like a bunch of cool things coming up this year already, things that aren't announced.
Yeah.
So we can't.
Don't get us in trouble.
Edit that out.
Yeah.
When is this going out?
Probably the same week as the EP. Like if we're talking EP details, then I'll wait until that's out. But otherwise, yeah.
Oh, so Burn It Down will be announced on Thursday.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So can we say that now then? Yeah. So we've got some really cool festivals coming up this year anyway. Burn It Down Main Stage, which is one that we are really excited to play in.
I love that.
We played that last year and we absolutely Love that.
Radar Fest.
Radar Fest, which I'm well looking forward to playing.
A lot of these festivals that everybody always like is at on socials and stuff like that you see from a distance. So it's really cool just to be like, you know, offered to play those things. So they're like the kind of like, you know, as you're going kind of goals. I mean, bucket list wise,
I mean, like it would be, I say it the same every time. It's the same answer I have with this sort of bucket list one every time is I would love to play Brixton Academy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my favorite venue of all time. I've seen so many bands play there, and you know, way long ago. I don't even have to headline it.
Yeah.
I'd be happy.
Well, that's a whole nother goal, isn't it?
That's a whole another goal of its own. But to be able to even just go and like be an opening band of Brixton Academy.
I feel a bit like dissimilar to. I don't feel as connected to like some venues that a lot of people do because I didn't really go to that many shows as a kid. Like I didn't live near London. I couldn't really get here. So like I went to Brixton Academy loads, of course, like everybody has. But for me, like I'm more of like a place. Like I really want to play some shows in America. I really want to like do. I'm really looking forward to like the first Europe tour that we do. Like I just love all those different countries and stuff. As much as I like going up and down England and the M4, it's like I'm looking forward to, you know, going to these other places where people will be like, when are you playing here? When are you playing here? It's just like, we will be.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like EP wise, I'm so excited for the EP to come out. It's really like it's definitely the most like open and vulnerable EP that like music that we've done.
Yeah. So I'm proud of the body of music I've been.
Yeah, like the opening track really sort of sets the tone for, is this whole thing like a therapy session?
Yeah,
kind
the
of
whole
thing.
thing is a therapy
Like the very small kind of 20-second intro just kind of gets you, I think, in a position where you're like, okay, I'm listening to this in a different way. And that's the only purpose of that intro track being on there, was like kind of set your expectation to what, you know, what you're about to listen to. Not even from like a music perspective, like we're not going to put you in therapy because it's so heavy. Like it's more so like the content, unless yeah, it might be, yeah. I can't stop saying it. Yeah. I've got Tourette's now. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are talked about on there, and you know, there's one track on there that I absolutely love, which is just super raw. You know, it's like no drums, no guitar. It's just like some like maybe 2 layers of like electronics, and then it's just like these super honest like words. So yeah, and I don't think we really went that far with the kind of vulnerability and stuff with previous releases, whether it was EPs or singles. We went for, you know, a little bit more of a vibe. Yeah, is the vibe of this right? Is this a really generic lyric? And sort of looking at it from that kind of perspective, rather than like, oh, like what's actually been being said. And you know, so what I was saying about earlier, where like I might just sit and then just start typing over a song. A lot of what we kind of would have deleted before, we're not now. So it's like, because you can see it as, oh, this is, you know, oh, I feel this way. Oh, that's a generic way to say that. Or is it just like, if that's what you want to say, then fucking say it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so I think we definitely like delved a lot more into that kind of world with this EP, which is cool, because I feel like a lot of people, like Jake was saying, like have come up to us and DM'd us and left comments, and with a lot of things along those lines. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing like how people react to this world.
Just the whole thing as a whole.
Get our Hot Topic Elevator Rock on the go. And
well, I cannot wait to hear the rest of it. And thank you very much. I've really enjoyed our chat about your songwriting and the band and where it's going and the rest. So appreciate your time. Good luck with the EP release.
Thanks very much.
And the show's coming up.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
No worries.
Cheers.
Well, what a joy it was to chat to Josh and Jake from Tropic Gold about their most recent singles, but also the kind of journey the band's been on so far and what they're thinking of in future, the things that matter to them. That was super, super interesting. I'll be sure to add some links in the description to their online platform so you can keep in touch with their upcoming gigs and music releases as well. Also, check the links for a link to my Discord server. You can join that for free. We can chat about music and interviews over there. Do make sure you're subscribed to this podcast if you haven't already yet. There's plenty more interesting interviews with notable up-and-coming and already kind of very known artists as well in future. Thank you for listening to this interview. Hopefully I'll see you in another one of these very soon.